Hi guys, today we're going to make a brand new test. We're going to see what happens if Manchester United actually signed Bordeaux's right winger Malcom in the January transfer window. As you probably know, this has been one of the hot topics in the transfer rumors and all the paper talk that Arsenal and Manchester United are battling for the signature of Malcom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually transfer him, and then we're going to fast forward 3.5 seasons to see how his transfer is going to impact Manchester United in Football Manager 2018. The transfer rumors put Malcolm's price around 33 million British pounds, so we're going to go with that too. Right now I am selecting Manchester United as his future team, and let's put 33 and then 6 zeros. There it is. Now Malcom is a player of Man United. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fast forward until the end of this season, and then I'm going to stop and review what happened in season 2017-2018. Okay, we are now at 27th of May 2018, one day after the Champions League final. Let's have a look at what happened in the meantime in England and in the European competitions. So first, let's start with the Premier League. Champions Manchester City level on points with Liverpool. This is quite interesting. It appears that Manchester City had a very bad run of games because mid-season they were leading by a mile. Manchester United, on the other hand, finished fourth, so they didn't perform really well. Let's have a look at what happened with them, and then we'll come back and look in further details in the table. So let's see what is happening with Malcolm first of all. Okay, there he is. He's being played as a right winger, which is understandable. And if we look at his performance, he has an average rating of 6.9, which is not that well, and he played only 9 games, 1 goal, 2 assists in the Premier League. So this is not really top performance from the Brazilian winger. He also was involved in 5 cup games with 1 goal. He's cup tied for the Champions League and for the European competition, so that's why he didn't participate. All in all, not a very good impact, not very impactful transfer for Man United. If we have a look at the tactics screen, let's see how he is being played. We see Malcolm on the right wing with Martial on the left, Ibrahimovic as a lone striker with Mkhitaryan as the number 10 behind him. I guess Lukaku is considered a substitute. That's interesting. Let's have a look at the games that Manchester United played, and especially in the end of the season. So if we go back to January when Malcolm was bought, so we have to go around here. So we have a win, 2 losses, 3 losses. That's very interesting. So they lost to Real Madrid in the first knockout stage of the Champions League. Then they lost in the FA Cup semi-final to Southampton on penalties. And they didn't go on a particularly good run in the Premier League as well, and that's why they finished fourth. Let's also see then who were the top performers of Manchester United for that season. So let's have a look at that selection info, and let's see who had the highest average rating. Juan Mata played 24 games and an average rating of 7.53. That's very impressive. Romero, the substitute goalkeeper with only 5 games against his name. Mkhitaryan, this is very far off from reality, 7.3. This is a very high rating. 11 goals, 5 assists. Very good for Mickey, although in reality he's not performing quite as well. Let's also have a look if they did any other transfers. Yes, they did. They bought Pietro Pellegrini. They sold Chris Smalling to Tottenham for really cheap, to be honest, and sent on loan Axel Tuanzebe to Burnley. So this is quite interesting turn of events. Who is that Pietro Pellegrini? I'm not familiar with that player. A 17-year-old striker from Italy. So this is one for the future. He has very interesting stats for this young age. So I'm expecting Manchester United to do quite well in the future. Going back to the Premier League, let's have a look at how things evolved in here. As I mentioned, Manchester City and Liverpool equal on points. Manchester City with a much better goal difference, 13 goals better than Liverpool, although Liverpool only have 2 losses. So 1-4 to Tottenham and 0-5 to Manchester City. So this is very, very interesting. Liverpool apparently made a very good run in the second half of the season. Now, when we go to the player stats, we see that Chris Wood is the goal scorer. This is a very bad season for all strikers in England. The average rating, Mesut Özil is the best player in the Premier League, also with 9 assists against his name, 5 Player of the Match awards. Hugo Lloris is the best keeper with that 8 shutouts, and Adrien Silva from Leicester, who I think has played only half a season as well. Yes, 12 games. You see, he has picked up the most yellow cards. So Adrien Silva has really a very big disciplinary problem. It will be interesting to see how he performs next year when he can play a whole season. Swansea, Stoke and West Brom have been relegated. Huddersfield have escaped relegation by only 2 points, although they have a much worse goal difference than the 18th placed West Brom. So good for Huddersfield and their manager David Wagner. They will be able to play in the Premier League for another year at least. Looking at the European competitions, first of all, let's start with the Euro Cup, which was won by PSG. So Paris Saint-Germain beat Villarreal in the final 2-1. PSG defeated Sporting Lisbon in the semis, Milan in the quarterfinal, and Arsenal in the second knockout round. So this is quite the turn of events for PSG, but not really a surprise considering the strength of their squad. Let's see any other English teams here. Everton lost to Lazio in the second qualifying round, and all over until the end of the tournament there were no other English teams. If we go and have a look at the Champions League, we see that the Champions League was won by Barcelona, beating Juventus in the final 1-0, and Barcelona also beat Manchester City in the semis. So this was the battle of Pep Guardiola against his old team, his former team Barcelona. They also beat Roma in the quarterfinal and Tottenham in the not Tottenham, but Liverpool 5-0 on aggregate in the first knockout round. Manchester United left the competition with a loss 2-3 on aggregate against Real Madrid, who in turn lost to the potential finalist Juventus in the quarterfinal. So this is how the European competitions evolved this season. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to fast forward 3 years in the future, and when I get there, we are going to review together what happened and try to see if Malcom actually had a more positive impact in the remainder of his theoretical Manchester United career. See you in a flash. Okay, so the game has loaded until the end of season 2020-2021, and we are back at the league table of the Premier League. Last time we left off, Manchester City were champions. Let's see what happens the next year. The next year they are champions again, so they have retained their title. 6 points clear of Chelsea, then Arsenal and Manchester United at 4th place. Liverpool have dropped down to 6th after their strong first season when they finished 2nd, even a level on points with the champions and only losing on goal difference. Brighton, Aston Villa and Sheffield Wednesday are going down. Next season, Manchester United are champions, so this is the 3rd year within our experiment here. Manchester City are 2nd, level on points with Chelsea and Arsenal, making up the top 4. Derby County, Norwich and Middlesbrough going down to the championship. And in the last season of our experiment, Manchester City have won another title, so this is a total of 3 out of 4 years. Manchester United finishing 2nd, a point and 3 goals behind them. Liverpool and Arsenal making up the top 4, qualifying for Champions League. Stoke, Ipswich and Barnsley have been relegated back to the Champions. Let's also have a look how Manchester United's player Malcom performed in these 3 years. So if we look at him, he is still the right winger. Let's go to the tactics screen. We see that Malcom is the right winger. Julian Brandt has been bought from Bayer Leverkusen, if I'm not mistaken, and he's playing on the left wing with Gonzalo Higuain. Another transfer, this time from Napoli as the main striker, which means that Romelu Lukaku did not manage to put himself firmly in the starting team, in the starting place of the striker. And Raja Nainggolan is partnering Paul Pogba in the midfield. If we look at the defense, we see Cancelo and De Vrij as new faces, and also I can see in the reserves that there is Mandzukic, so a lot of strike force has been brought. Also, Danny Ward from Liverpool has been brought in Manchester United. This is quite interesting. Let me just take a look if he's coming. No, he's coming through Huddersfield. Very interesting for a very, very moderate sum. But let's get back to our main topic, Malcom, and let's see how did he perform in the last few years. So last time we left off, he only played 9 games in the second part of the first season. Then in the second season, he played a total of 21 games with 7.39 average rating, which is much, much better than his first season. Third season, however, was kind of disappointing. I'm guessing that he had a bad injury or a very bad patch of form. And in the last season, he has a poor average rating, but he played a lot of games and scored 7 goals and 3 assists. Let me just take a look at Manchester United. Are they still managed by Jose Mourinho? I'm not sure. Let me just check. Head coach Jose Mourinho, indeed. So he managed to retain his place even though he only won 1 title in 4 seasons. So the board of directors were obviously quite patient. Let's have a look also at the European competitions. So last time the Europa League was won by PSG 2-1 in the final. The following year, Sporting Lisbon beat Burnley in the final 1-0. Burnley qualifying to the final by beating Hoffenheim from Germany in the semis and Krasnodar from Russia 2-0 in the quarterfinal. Then in the second knockout round, beating 3-0 the Swiss team of young boys. Arsenal lost to Sporting, the eventual champions, here in the semis. And looking at the previous stages, we have Southampton, who were defeated by PSV in the second knockout round. In the third year, an English final, Liverpool-Arsenal, with Arsenal winning after extra time 2-1. Arsenal also defeating Everton in the semis, Sporting Lisbon in the quarters, and Beşiktaş, the Turkish Beşiktaş, in the second knockout round. Everton defeated Inter and Tottenham. So this was a very English dominating year in the Europa League. Let's check what happened in the very last season. Lyon from France defeated Leverkusen from Germany in the final 3-1. Southampton played the semis against Leverkusen, being defeated 2-5. And if we look at the initial second knockout round qualifying teams, Tottenham and West Ham qualified. West Ham defeated their London neighbours. And that's about it from England. Now, also Southampton defeated Dortmund, then they defeated Juventus on penalties before they bowed to Leverkusen in the semis. Moving one stage up to the Champions League. In the first season, Barcelona defeated Juventus. In the second season, Monaco defeated Liverpool in the final with 2-1 after extra time. So this was a dramatic final. Liverpool, on the other hand, defeated Chelsea 4-3 on aggregate in the semis, and Monaco beating Bayern Munich 3-2 in the semis. Liverpool also defeated Manchester United and Shakhtar in their way to the final. So this was quite a strong year for Liverpool. Unfortunately, it ended in disappointment against the Monegasques. In the third season, Bayern Munich won against Real Madrid 2-0 after extra time. After they also defeated Chelsea on penalties in the semis, and Dortmund in the quarterfinal, and Lyon in the first knockout round. The English teams did not perform so good, so Chelsea was the best performer, reaching the semis. But before that, Manchester United bowed out to Barcelona in the first knockout round. Manchester City were defeated by PSG by the astonishing 6-2 on aggregate. So not a very good season for the English teams in the Champions League. And the very last season, we had an English finalist, but they also lost to Bayern Munich. So Bayern Munich, if I'm not mistaken, 2 in a row. Indeed, they have 2 Champions Leagues in a row, beating Manchester City 2-1 in the final after they defeated Monaco in the semis, Real Madrid in the quarters, and Manchester United in the first knockout round. So this was indeed a glorious, glorious way to the final and a sweet victory there. Let's just quickly have a look at the individual awards. So Lionel Messi won the first Player of the Year award in 2018, then he won the next one in 2019 and another one in 2020, so a total dominance by Messi in the game. Let's also check the Ballon d'Or, again dominated by Messi, total domination. Let's see also in the goalkeepers, Neuer, Navas, and Neuer again were the winners. So not really a lot of different people being in the award-winning positions in this save. As you can see, this experiment did not turn out very well for Malcom, who we transferred into Manchester United for 33 million pounds. Let's also, before we end this experiment, let's check what other transfer did they make. Let me go back to the very first season. So we discussed that Pietro Pellegrini was one of their first transfers, a very young Italian striker. Did he play in his career? So he played on loan in Derby County, performing quite well, but he didn't break into the Manchester United squad. In the last season, he played 9 games, scoring 5 goals, which is a very good return. So probably in the next seasons, he would come to dominate a bit more. I might actually extend this experiment with further 3 years just to see what happens. Malcom is also a very young player, as is this Italian young striker, to see how they get on with it. But let's see their other transfers. So in the second year, so a lot of transfers, 137 million pounds in total, and Rafael Guerreiro from Dortmund is the most significant one. He's a left wing back, also able to play in midfield as well as at the left wing. Jonas from Benfica, a very cheap transfer. I'm not sure what is this player. He's a coach already, so probably he retired in the meantime. Mario Mandzukic, as I mentioned, was bought from Juventus. Kwadwo Asamoah came on a free transfer, very interesting, and left in the meantime to Stuttgart. Fagner from Corinthians, another player which I'm not familiar with, 31 years old, right wing back or full back. He has been already transferred to Inter. And Karim Benzema, so a lot of strikers. Mourinho obviously wanted more strike force, so he bought a lot of strikers in his time in Manchester United. When we look at the outgoing transfers, the names that stick out are Marwan Fellaini, who left on a free transfer to China, so a last big payday for him. Marcos Rojo was sold to Napoli, and looking further down, those are only loans. Then in the third year, let's see, incoming Jose Callejon, João Cancelo, Julian Brandt, Rafael Pereira, another Portuguese player. I'm not. Oh, this is a regen, a new player from the game. Rajan Angolan from Roma, so this is a big transfer. And Danny Beal from Heerenveen, another player which I'm not familiar with. So this is another regen. This is a new player from the game, a right fullback. He's currently playing for the under-23s, so probably will break out in the first team in one of the next seasons. If we look at the outgoing transfers, Kwadwo Asamoah has been sold to West Ham after he came on a free last year. Then we see a lot of players have left on a free as well. Andreas Pereira, Antonio Valencia, one of them. Andreas Pereira, a good transfer for Southampton, good on them. Sergio Romero leaving for Hertha Berlin and probably first team football. If we look down, we have Joel Pereira, the goalkeeper, has been transferred to Basel. Let's see, then in the very last season, incoming Adrien Silva from Leicester. If you remember, he had quite a disciplinary problem. Let me just have a look at how did he perform in here. So in the first season, he managed to pick up 12 yellow cards. In his next season, another 12. Third season, 11 yellow cards. And in the last season, 5 yellow cards with Manchester United. Apparently, Jose Mourinho managed to keep his disciplinary record under some control. So back to the transfers window. Higuain joined from Juventus, not from Napoli. Apologies for that. So from Juventus for 35.5 million. The second striker brought from Juve by Jose Mourinho, along with a young player from AZ Alkmaar. I'm not familiar with that. Oh yeah, another region. Then we have Rafał Semeniuk from Poland. Is this a region? Yes, a 16-year-old central defender. Very interesting, 20 in determination. This is going to be a phenomenal defender in a few years. Jesus Corona from Porto for 13.25 million. This is a real player, Mexican. I'm not familiar with this player. He can play all over the place in the attacking positions. You can see attacking midfielder, right, left, center. He played a lot of games. He played, you can see, 10 games in the Champions League, 13 in the Premier League, but not very high average rating. And Danny Ward, the Liverpool goalkeeper, who came through the Liverpool ranks, then into the Huddersfield team, and bought by Jose Mourinho. Looking at the outgoing side, we can see the first thing that comes here is Jesse Lingard being sold to Everton. This is very interesting, especially after in reality Jesse Lingard is having a very nice purple patch of form right now in December and January, December 2017, January 2018. Scott McTominay has been sold to Bristol City. Angel Gomes is playing on loan at Huddersfield, which means that probably he didn't develop as good as some would have hoped. He's a very high potential player, but apparently he didn't fulfill his potential. Axel Tuanzebe at Leicester, 23 years old. He has very good stats. I'm actually expecting him to break out next season into the first team, although it didn't quite happen for him in the last few years. He played 3 times, 3 years in the last 4 at Premier League teams, but he did not manage to establish himself in the Manchester United team. Dean Henderson was sold for a very good sum to Wolves. Dean Henderson is a young goalkeeper from the Manchester United youth ranks, and Timothy Fosu-Mensah was sold to the Russian Lokomotiv Moscow, which means that he did not fulfill his potential. So what I am going to do next is I am going to fast forward another 3 years into the future just to have a look how the young players at United have developed, especially Malcom and the young Italian striker Pietro Pellegrini, who was bought from Genoa in the very first season, to see how did they fit in and did they manage to actually make Manchester United a dominant force in English and European football. So you can see that Malcom is valued at approximately the same amount that he was bought for, which is not bad. He did not lose a lot of value, and in the last few seasons he was managing a good average rating, although in the last season he had a good performance but not so good overall average rating. So see you in a few minutes when we are in year 2024. Since this is going to become quite a long video, I suggest that we cut it short here, and then the next 3 years are going to become part 2 of this experiment. So please check out my channel, and if you want to get notifications when the new video comes out, please subscribe. Don't forget to like the video, and see you the next time. Bye guys.